So in very exciting news, I have in my hands a copy of Turtles All the Way Down, John Green's first book in 5 years. Yes, I am one of the rabid fans who's been waiting patiently this entire time. Like when I was in high school, 15 years old, just kind of figured out the internet was a thing. I got into John's Vlogbrothers channel that he does with his brother Hank. Became super fan, nerd fighter, all that jazz. Read John's books, got super excited about them, loved them deeply. Heard he was writing a new one, so I pre-ordered this book with a weird title, The Fault in Our Stars. You may have heard of it. It came in the mail, I read it in like 3 days because I had that kind of time when I was in high school, and I loved it a lot. I like bought copies of this book for people and lied and told them that I had extra copies. I just really wanted people to read this book. So 5 years later, I mean, it's understandable. There was a lot of pressure. He was like shoved into the public eye. Am I back? Sorry, my batteries died. I think the vulnerability that he learned lended a lot of strength to this book as well, especially as it relates to OCD, which John Green has and Asa Holmes, the main character of this book, also has. It's very poignant and real, which is what John Green does best anyway, and really like touched on a lot of experiences of mental health that like are very real and I haven't really heard discussed. Like the fact that everybody wants to hear that you're getting better. This is true of like all chronic conditions. Like it's the narrative that makes people feel good, and it's a lot hard to say like, oh, it's not getting better and it sucks and I hate it and I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life like this, because it's closer to the truth. He also touches on the feeling of having something in your head that's both not you and is you, and trying to just figure that out. He also talks about things that are specific to OCD and not like a general mental health discussion, especially like there's the like wondering if there are these thoughts in your head that are making you do things, like what free will do you actually have? Like, are you really a real person? Like, very scary thoughts. I don't know, like, because those are not thoughts that I've had. I felt like I was very, like, privileged and honored to be able to, like, step into that space of him expressing these things that he has actually experienced. The meaning of the title is that, like, ever-tightening, never-ending spiral inward, and how, like, suffocating and hard to stop that is. I'm struggling to find words for it, but he found some words. You should read them. I have a feeling that OCD is going to be one of the things that's discussed most about this book, especially with our current cultural conversation about mental health. It's also definitely one of the strengths of the book, so I can see that is something that people will kind of hone in on. And it's interesting because it doesn't just deal with Asa's experience of OCD like by herself, but also her interactions with her mom, who like wants her to get better in specific ways, and her therapist, who wants her to get better in specific ways, and even her best friend, and how like weird that can be, like having a friend who has to like watch you go through this and also like deal with your symptoms as you're dealing with them, because it is not something that only affects you. The sort of like best friend character is Daisy. Daisy is awesome. She's a super cool pink-haired Latina Star Wars fan. And when I say Star Wars fan, I don't mean like she likes the movies. I mean like this is the weird best friend interest in every John Green book, and she will tell you more information than you ever wanted to know. I enjoyed it, but I am also like a big Star Wars nerd, so I don't know how much that's gonna carry over. Like I was really fascinated with her discussion on like Wookiee personhood and how people are very like uncomfortable with like a female human in relationship with a male Wookiee versus like a male human in relationship with a female Twi'lek. The weird disparity and the objectification of aliens in Star Wars, and it was just, yeah. It was very cool. If you hear this and you think, wow, that is interesting, you're gonna have a good time with this character. If you heard this and you think like, oh, what's a Twi'lek? Then you're probably not gonna know what she's talking about. So in addition to being like a mega nerd, Daisy is like an interesting and whole person. Like she's not consistently like unconditionally supportive because she's not an angel, but she's not like a jerk all the time either, because she's a human being and a high school person and just like trying her best and getting frustrated at times. Like there's very honest conflict between Daisy and Asa, and like some of it's mental health related, some of it's not, and just like the sort of clashes that happen and the miscommunications and the things that you keep in and you don't say until one day it all comes out. I thought the Daisy character was a huge strength of this book. The overall plot is hard to talk about without spoilers. Like, I can't say a lot. I can tell you the premise. A famous billionaire dude is gone missing. There's a reward for any information like leading to finding him. His son is someone that Asa knew from summer camp a while back. I say summer camp. It's a little different than normal summer camp. Read the book to find find out why. And so Aza and Daisy are like trying to use that connection to find information about Davis's missing dad. Over the course of it, they become closer with the family, they find out things they may not necessarily want to know, and there's a lot of discussion on poverty and how it affects people and, how do I say this? Like the ways that rich people behave, I say as if I am not a rich person. The ways that like billionaires behave. And the plot actually drives a lot of things, which I would say is unlike most of his books. Usually the plot is like a thing to make sure that you're like interested and keep reading for all of the like character moments and insights and stuff, but this, it actually like, it was pretty neatly tied together, and like the plot moments like carried forward the character moments, and the character moments carried forward the plot moments, and it was good. And the things that happened, like the things that were outside of the character's control, didn't just like incite character stuff, it also like moved things forward and changed the world that the characters lived in. I think that's definitely a strength of this book compared to other John Green books. And I know I am saying this as if I am some like John Green scholar, but listen, when you don't get a book from one of your favorite authors for 5 years, you spend a lot of time thinking about what it could potentially be. Overall, I did enjoy it. It has a lot of really good like insights and thoughts and characters that are very genuine and well thought out, but a lot of those insights and those moments when you're just like, whoa, he's put this thing into words that I like never could have understood without these specific words. Those moments are sparser than I would like. Some of the dialogues you kind of have to slog through, and it's very like true to life, but listen, I don't go to high schools and listen to high schoolers talking to each other because it's not that fun or interesting. I read books about it because they find the fun and interesting parts, which doesn't always happen here. My inner editor was also screaming at a lot of the like contrasts in writing quality and some of the threads that like get started but then don't really get tied up, or like plot lines that like, oh, that's gonna be really interesting. Oh. And nothing happens. Okay. If it seems interesting to you, I would definitely recommend reading it. If not really, then it's not one of those books that's gonna like overwhelm you with its quality, and I like recommend even if you're not sure. If you're looking for one of those books, you should definitely read The Hate You Give, which is really, really good and in a different league from this book entirely. I'm glad that it's here. I'm glad I got to read it and enjoy it and learn, and I'm glad for my 2012 self who finally got to read the next John Green book. What? It is very poignant. I don't know how to say that word. Poignant? Poignant? I don't understand social things. What's going on? We're gonna find out. How do you say this? Meep. Oh, this one is not matte.
Poignant.
Poignant? Poignant. He was very poignant.
Poignant.
Poignant. Poignant, 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 poignant. That Fault in Our Stars is not the name of this book. Whoop. Okay.